This is the home buying process stage 7, which is removing your conditions. So you've already done all the background work, you've found the house that you want to buy, you've made an offer that's conditional, and it's been accepted. Now what do we do? So let's assume that you've got the 3 main conditions in there that are in a lot of offers, and that is finance, home inspection, and sale of buyer's property. There could be other conditions, as I mentioned in the previous video, ones like vendor purchasing property, where the seller gets to decide, try to find a house to buy before they'll sell this one to you, or there's a myriad of other common ones, but these are the 3 most common. So the first thing that we do is, I already should know who your mortgage broker or bank is because you would have been pre-qualified from that earlier video. And so we would have already had that done, but now they need to approve the house and they need to run all the final numbers because they don't know what your final offer price was because you've probably gone back and forth a little bit. If you have a firm deal and you didn't have any conditions in your deal, then you can skip this step completely because there's nothing to remove. So the first thing is we get everything to the bank and mortgage broker or mortgage broker and have them get started on the approval process, and we kind of leave that with them for a few days, and we'll check in with them as time goes on to make sure that progress is happening and we can remove that finance condition sooner rather than later. We typically only have about a week for finance and home inspection, so those are under a time crunch. The next thing to do is to call a home inspector. There are numerous home inspectors in any given marketplace. Here in Sarnia, Lambton, there's a few that I've worked with quite a bit, and so happy to provide you with details on who I would recommend. There's really only kind of 3 or 4 that do any kind of standard amount of business, and those are the inspectors that I would recommend that you use rather than somebody who doesn't really do it a lot. These people see houses every single day and they're constantly looking at them, so they know what to look out for. They know fixing costs and all that kind of stuff. But we want to get that done before the deadline, probably a couple days in advance of it, because if there's a problem and we need to renegotiate something, we want to renegotiate that before the time is up. So that's an important one. Home inspectors typically book out about 2 to 3 days in advance. Maybe a little bit more in a really busy time, but usually you can get an inspector within 3 days. So let's say it's a Tuesday, you've made your offer, it's conditional till, let's say, next Tuesday, which is a week. You might want to do it on the weekend, but weekends are busy for sellers, they're busy for you, and they're busy for home inspectors. If you can do it during the week, and I recommend you being there in person, so that you can ask questions directly to them. You're not just looking at a report and then trying to figure out what they had to say. You can ask them all sorts of questions at the time, and it also makes the rapport a little bit better when you can call the home inspector later and say, what about this thing? I didn't think of it at the time. They already know who you are, and they'll remember a little bit better. So I would book it right away for as soon as possible, that you and any decision maker can be there. Obviously, if only one person can be there, make sure it's somebody that you trust. So we see it sometimes where kids have to work, so maybe mom or dad comes. That's a pretty common thing. And so anyway, we do that. If the home inspection report comes back, when it comes back, you have a few options. You can read through it, obviously, and decide, yep, we're good, we're going ahead. You can decide we want the seller to fix something, and there's some issues with doing that depending on what it is that needs fixed. And then the other alternative is to say, we want out, we're going to walk away. Now, if the seller refuses to fix something, maybe you say, instead of you fixing it, where it's not going to be your house anymore, I want to fix it, but I need some money to do so. So maybe you take off $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is that is required in order to get that item fixed. And what you're looking for in home inspections, I can do a whole video on them, is basically just the big stuff where you're going to find reverse polarity in plugs. You're going to find, this thing needs caulking around the window. These are common issues on most houses. And but what we're really looking for is there any reason why a normal buyer would want to walk away from this deal? Maybe you've got flooding in the basement, water damage, mold, asbestos, There's numerous issues. High-tech plumbing is one that a lot of local agents don't really know about here in Sarnia, Lambton, because we don't see it that often, but in Kitchener-Waterloo it was very, very common, and we would see it quite often in home inspection reports. And then the final one is sale of buyer's property. Again, if your house is not on the market at the time, you need to work and get it on ASAP, because you only have a certain amount of time in order to get your house sold, and there's also a bump condition on almost all of your sale of buyer's property conditions. And so you're under a time crunch from the minute it's accepted to get that house sold. And so within a reasonable amount of time, a day or two is probably reasonable. You should be ready to go. If you found a house, unless you haven't really been looking and you've skipped a lot of the early process, you should know that your house is probably going to go on the market, and so you should be keeping it in a position where within a day or two it could be cleaned up and ready for photos if you haven't already gotten photos. That's something that I do. I don't know if other agents do it, but sometimes I'll say, you know what, let's get the photos done now, so that when it comes time that you've got your accepted offer, the next day, boom, we've got it on the market. I already have the photos done. I already have advertising ready to go, and we hit the market with full force. Once you get an okay from your bank, you can remove that finance condition. So you put in what's called a waiver or notice of fulfillment, depending on the situation, and you sign that saying we're removing our condition. You send it to the other side, and they will send a response back with a signature saying, yes, they have received it, they received it on time, and we're all good to go. Once you've removed all of your conditions, then we go on to closing. And so that's for another video. I think it's the next video. And anyway, that's the kind of short answer to you. I know it's a little bit long, but realistically, these are complicated and they're all individualized. Every situation is different. You might not have any conditions, you might have more conditions, you might have different conditions. And so you need a realtor that can sit down with you, go through all of this. We do this all the time. For me, this is my full-time job. This is all I do every day. So to me, it's very easy and very, very simple process. But to you as a buyer or potential buyer, you might not know some of these things. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out anytime, make a comment in the comment section, or give me a call directly, and I'd be happy to help you and clear up any issues that you may have. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me. If you have comments, please leave them in the comment section below or contact me. All of my contact information is beside me and below me in the description. Have a great day.